G'day. For those who don't know me, my name's Alan Carrington. You can tell by the accent I'm from a long way away from Texas. I'm part of Bob's history. And Glennis and I, my wife, was in shock when we heard that Bob had been promoted to glory. And as we prayed about Malin and Cara and for the Lord to bless them and look after them, I was prompted to tell the story. And this is a short video on this celebrating the life of Bob at a time when the Lord worked mightily through him and our team at Last Days Ministries. Our family did our DTS in Kona in 1989. Then in 1991, we had the opportunity to go to the U of N workshop in Budapest, Hungary. And on the way over, we stopped in at Last Days Ministries in Texas, and we shared the vision we had as for starting a print production school, a school to train people in printing skills, with the leaders of Last Days Ministries. And of course they totally embraced the vision and said, let's start tomorrow morning. Seriously, that's what it was. And we thought, no, we better have a bit more lead time, and we better find some skilled staff to help us. We spoke to Mike King, who may be watching this video at some point too, who was in China at the time, I think. My memory's not as good as it used to be, so if I get some of the facts wrong, and those that were involved, correct it by all means. But what happened with Mike in China, he was printing Bibles in China. We put out the call for experienced, spiritually mature help for a staff of the school. And he recommended Bob and Malin, and we made contact, and so to speak, the rest is history. We set up the school for 1992, so let's take Bob and Malin back to then. How about that, guys? No grey hair on any of us at that point. It was simply an amazing time. And all of us lived here in the ranch house of Last Days Ministries. The Browns at one end, the Carringtons at the other, I think, from memory. And it was all about setting up the school. To be honest with you, there was no way in the world we could have run that print school without Bob and Malin. And Bob was God's man for the job. It was an amazing time. Bob went from teacher to techie. He was amazing. He could do almost anything. He was an incredibly servant-hearted guy, made a profound impact on everybody, and we had a transformative experience every school. And there he is with the phone in one hand, troubleshooting a guillotine and cooking. And every time I talked to him, he had to pull his head out of a machine. It was there that we first heard about Paraguay. We heard that the leader of YWAM Paraguay had a vision for printing, that he wanted to set up a print shop. So we prayed about it, and we all felt very strongly that we should be involved in this, and that we should have a project to take a print shop, not just an outreach team, guys, a print shop to Paraguay. And so it began. Bob and I would literally pray, make phone calls, and go on a print shop crawl around Dallas. And we never seen such generosity. We never saw such miraculous move of God on things. We walked into print shop after print shop, and we sort of started with the statement, we're going to send a container of printing equipment to Paraguay you got anything you're not using? Something like that. And machine after machine. But I got to say, I got to tell you one story. I mean, I can almost see the look on Bob's face. We were in this print shop, and this print owner, and Bob sort of said, "Well, have you got any paper that you might have surplus that we could use?" The guy says, "Oh yeah, hang on a minute." And he went to his partner and he came back and said, "Come with me." So off Bob trots down the print shop, and he gets to these rolls of printing, of paper, and he says, is that, wow, a roll of paper?" And the guy says, "Oh, no." And of course, Bob gets immediately embarrassed for presuming something. And the guy said, "Oh, no, that row there, back to the wall and across to that wall." And the look on Bob's face was astounding, because it was more paper than we could fit in a 21-wheeler Pantechnicon truck. We couldn't find one of those trucks, so we couldn't take it, but we were humbled that it's such generosity. And the provision just kept moving, just kept coming. I can remember we're sitting in the cafeteria, the dining room of Last Days Ministries, and Bob and Melinda, maybe we were on our own. I can't remember that much detail, but we're sitting there, and Bob and I are talking, as we always did, 24/7 about the project. And Bob says, "We got a problem." I said, "What is it, Bob?" And he said, "We need pallet makers." And we're in rural Texas, right? And he said, "We need people who are skilled in making pallets." And I said to myself, "Well, you mean a carpenter?" He said, No, pallet makers. People who know how to make pallets so all the machine comes up." And I said to him, "Where in the world are we going to get such specialised people from?" I kid you not, right? Suddenly, two guys get up from the table, two over from us, and walk to the table and said, "Hi." He said, "We overheard you talking about pallet makers. My mate and I are here visiting Last Days Ministries from a church somewhere on mainland USA." He said, "And we're pallet makers." And that's what we do. And I looked at Bob and we just shook our heads. And he said, "But we got a problem." He said, "Our problem is that we're going home tomorrow." Yeah, that's right. It was morning. It was breakfast time. And he said, "We're going home tomorrow, but we'll work all night to make your pallets." And Bob looked at me and said, "Here we go again." And he said, and Bob did a quick calc and said, "But we need between $1,200 and $1,500 worth of timber today." We prayed. I made some phone calls, and a businessman in Dallas rose to the occasion, and we had $1,500 worth of timber arrive by truck and forklift before the end of the day, and they made their pallets. And so it went on. And it was really a birth of a vision, because not only were we working on a container load of printing equipment to go to Paraguay, but we've sensed that Eastern Europe, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, all these countries were next. And as it turned out, of course, for those who know, Bob and Melinda worked on a project in Romania, and they even talk about that for donation now. And these are the Romanians that we had in the school, one of them was. The young lady on the left is very quiet, very determined. I can't ever forget her. And other two people had lived in Dallas but were from Romania. But the miracles go on. The stories are just astounding. If this is a little long, it's because this is so much part of my life. Bob was used by God to transform so much in me. But we had to have a container, a 40-foot container. They're worth thousands, right? And not only that, we had to get it shipped by sea freight to Paraguay. And I heard about a a ministry somewhere on the East Coast that would actually shipped things in containers. So I prayed, I made a phone call, as I did so many times, and said, I want to tell you a story. We've got a print shop, we're sending equipment to Paraguay to start a print shop. And we were wondering if you could possibly help us with the costs of the container and the sea freight. And the lady said, oh, Alan, I'm so sorry, but we are a medical mission supplier. We supply medical supplies to missionaries. And then, have you got any medical supplies in the container? I said, I don't know. Give me a minute, I'll go and ask. So, as I used to do, I raced across the print shop to find Bob with his head in the machine, almost in a container, somewhat similar to what you see on the screen. And I said, hey, Bob, have we got any medical supplies in the box? And he looked at me, and in the droll way he always did, he'd say, no, but we got a packet of Band-Aids. And of course we laughed and said, well, okay. So back I went. I'd learned never to ignore these things. So I went back to the lady and I said, no, look, I'm sorry, all we've got is Band-Aids. And she said, that'll do it. So Bob's sense of humour and a packet of Band-Aids funded a 40-foot container full of printing equipment. It was close to $700,000 worth, US dollars worth, to Paraguay. The miracles were simply astounding. Now, that there is actually my daughter, who's now got 4 children, and Cara, of course, on the right in that insert picture. But there is the dedication service for every machine. And there are the team in the bad photo, sorry about that, looking into the darkness of the container, loading machines. It was amazing. And then the leaders of the ministry of Last Days Ministries at the time, interceded for every nation in South America we did, and had flags and had a celebration service, never ever to forget. So off the box goes to Paraguay, and we followed. There's Cara standing on looking after the bags, some of the bags, and it was really a struggle in Paraguay. It was 3 months of spiritual warfare. The enemy really didn't want a print shop in Paraguay, I can tell you. But one of the things we could always guarantee was Bob and his sense of humour. And I can remember, and I still use it today. Our family uses it today. It's how Bob used to respond when the question came, when everybody was sitting down watching a movie or something, and we'd walk in and say, hi, what are you watching? And Bob would say, television. It's an invention of the 20th century, but that's not important right now. And another story where in Asuncion we would be travelling on the bus, and the buses in Asuncion get paid by the journey, so they move like lightning, and we had to put the children at the front, or they could get injured while the bus took off while we're still boarding. It was insanity. But Bob used to have us all line up and close up like paratroopers and hook up to the rail, so that we'd be boom, 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 boom off the bus as he pulled up. It was fun. But the best story, I think, was one day when Bob was missing, and Dave Hendrickson, who may also watch this movie, I hope, they'd gone, they'd disappeared. And so they come back later on in the morning, because it took you hours to travel across Asuncion by bus. They come back later in the morning, and I said, where you been, babe? He said, oh, we went to the US consulate. I said, really? He said, yeah, we were held up by a Marine, fully armed. I said, what in the world were you doing at the consulate? He said, oh, Dave and I had to have Dr. Pepper, and we couldn't find it anywhere in Paraguay. So they went to the US consulate, and Dave can remind me of this, but I think you got it. I think they found it for you, right? Anyway, that was one of the many stories, but I just wanted to make sure people understood how special this guy was. And I wanted to finish, I hope I don't break up actually, I wanted to finish with an image that portrayed what Bob was about. And that's Christian from Chile and Perry from the USA, doing what we did so often, is celebrating God around the machines. And the Lord, give me the nations, here am I, send me. And mate, I'm talking to Bob, you're now been promoted to glory, and you've got your jewels in your crown, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if a couple of them have got ink on them, haven't got ink on them. But I know for certain you couldn't care less. See you soon, brother.